Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington, where you will hear from the movers, shakers, and changemakers that are moving Greater Burlington forward. Here is your host, Stephen Brody.
Welcome to All Things Greater Burlington. I'm your host, Stephen Brody. Greater Burlington has a lot of wonderful things going for it, but one of the best is its potato chips that you can get from the Greater Burlington area. And Sterzing's potato chips is a staple in Southeast Iowa. We are so pleased to have in here to talk the Sterzing story for us. It's President and CEO Craig Smith. And Craig, thank you so much for being with us today.
Glad to be here, Stephen. Thank you.
I had the pleasure of going for a tour of your plant earlier this year. And I was just fascinated in watching from start to finish how everything gets done, from potato into the bag. Now, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I asked one of your folks there, and they said from potato to bag, it's 6 minutes.
That'd be just about right. Yep.
I love that, because I'm one of those people that loves to see how things work, how things go from start to finish. And you just have an amazing operation there.
We're proud of it. We updated all the equipment about 5 years ago, but it was an interesting story when the company came in to help us modernize, to innovate. They really mimicked the original layout of the facility that had been in place since 1968. So we didn't really do many things different. We just updated all the equipment, but the flow, how the business goes through the manufacturing, really did not change significantly.
Yeah. Tell us, for those who don't know, tell us the Sterzing story and tell us your involvement with this company.
Glad to. 1933, as we tell the story, a gentleman named Barney Sterzing began tinkering with making potato chips. He was a confectioner. He had a candy business. He made candy in his home. The original business was either called the Cottage Candy Company or the Home Style Candy Company. We really have some mixed stories on that. But he made chocolates, and we know that there are molds, still original molds, still in some possession of some people here in the community. And as a sideline to his candy business, Barney developed a way to slice chips and cook them in a very old-fashioned, very slow, hand-stirred way.
This was always in Burlington?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
His business was down on Main Street years and years and years ago, and he developed both the chips and the candies from what we were told up through the World War II era, when the rationing took advantage of the sugar amounts that he could have, and so his candy business slowly faded away.
Okay.
The chips were a way to offset his business because candies would melt in the summertime. Not enough businesses and homes had air conditioning at that time, so he could make the candies in the wintertime and the chips in the summertime, and so he was just being innovated and got started.
Year-round.
And so after World War II, the candy business faded away. He stayed with the potato chip business. He continued on that until 1959. He sold the business then to his cousin, Dutch Duttweiler.
Okay.
And so Dutch had the business from 1959 and held it in their family all the way up through the 60s, in the 70s, grew the business in the 80s.
Okay.
And that's when I began. I started in 1980. As a matter of fact, I started 42 years ago today as a summertime job.
Wow.
So yeah, today has some significance for me. And I worked with that family, pretty well ran the business for them up through 2011, when my sales manager and I had the opportunity to buy the business. So we are coming up on 11 years of ownership. We are in the same location we've been in since 1968. The building has served us well, and the location has served us well.
Yeah.
And so that's the mini version of, went from Barney Sterzing's to Dutch Duttweiler to now my business partner, Gary Schmeiser, and myself.
Yeah. What is it that makes Sterzing so special, that makes it so popular in this area and that people just can't get enough of it?
Well, the nice thing is that it's a flavor or a taste that's been developed over years that people grew up with in Southeast Iowa. The national brands all use similar formulas. They use a certain type of oil. They use an automated cooking system. So as you go across the country, you can find lots of national and regional brands that all taste very similar. We have always used an oil that has a soybean oil base to it, and that's unique in the industry.
It is.
Now, there are other chip companies in the United States that have done this as well, and unfortunately, we've all had to make some dramatic adjustments since the 2017, 2018 years when the FDA mandated a change that did not affect national brands, but certainly affected us.
I see.
So it's taken some time for us, but we think we're back to a formula, a blend that very closely mimics what Barney Sterzing used.
Yeah.
The biggest thing was it was a partially hydrogenated soybean oil. So the oil that we use is solid at room temperature. Mm-hmm. The oils that the national brands use are liquid at room temperature.
Okay.
So after we cook our chip and the chip sets up and cools down, that oil actually goes back to a more of a solid base, which is its natural base, and that's what gives our chip that unique texture and taste.
Does the oil have anything to do with where it comes from? Is it because we're based in Iowa? Do you get it from here or not?
No, I believe more that even Barney, again, you go back to the 40s and the 50s. Now, we don't know exactly what he used in 1933.
Yeah.
But you can understand post-World War II, the world was changing, and the advent of products like Crisco came about. And Crisco would be a good similarity. It was solid at room temperature. It was primarily for baking rather than frying, but it was very shelf stable. It had properties in it that added to the texture and the taste. And so that's very similar to what we used, was an oil that had those properties, but it was designed for the frying industry, not just the baking.
Yeah.
So a similar comparison, but again, the national brands chose not to use that. Transporting the oil we use has a different step to it. If a national brand uses a liquid, well, they can just turn on a pump and they can transport that. Ours actually comes in cubes. It has to be handled, has to be melted down, then it can be pumped. Mm-hmm. And then again, as the product is created, it creates a little different texture and taste property after the process.
A lot of companies, they diversify and they come up with different flavors, different varieties of chips. And for the longest time, you just had the one main flavor, correct?
That's right.
And so just recently you branched out with two additional flavors?
Yeah, it took us 80 some years to come up with an alternative flavor.
Was that done intentionally to just stick with one flavor and not mess with others?
Now again, the building we were in from 1968 had our original fryers, original technique, all stirred by hand, sorted by hand, salted by hand, and it would have required to be seasoned by hand, and that would have been an extra step that would have been very difficult with our previous equipment.
Okay.
In 2018, as the FDA is making changes, we had to make a choice as well, and so we completely retooled our factory. With that updated equipment, it allowed us then to be able to season a chip automatically. Mm-hmm. So that gave us the freedom to do that. Yeah. And again, the oil we use is very good for that original formula, but just because it's a good formula doesn't mean it's going to be compatible with any seasoning, any spice. Again, the national brands, that corn oil or sunflower or safflower oil they use is very neutral, and it's pretty easy to put a flavor. That's probably why they put a flavor on a lot of things, because there isn't as much taste. In my opinion, you can buy a Lay's or a Ruffles. I'll use that as an example. Nothing against those companies. Very successful, but you're not going to get the texture and the taste that we have.
Yeah.
And so for us, then, we had the opportunity to put a flavor on, but we still had to find the right flavor that would match the components of our oil. So that required a few steps as well.
Okay, and so how do you do that? How do you determine when it's time to branch out? Let's try a barbecue. Let's try a sour cream and onion. Let's try a salt and vinegar, whatever it is. What goes into that?
Yeah. First, we went to the national statistics.
Yeah.
What are the most popular flavors? And barbecue is one of the most popular by far.
Yeah.
Our marketing and research went as far as my son's basketball and baseball team.
Bring it real local.
While he was in high school, we tested several flavors and options, and I just put bags in his hands, and he took them to school, and they put them out at the lunch counter. No, unfortunately.
What a tough job.
Yeah, unfortunately, teenage boys are going to say, yeah, that's really good. But we had to go with a good, better, best. Tell us if this is good. Yes, it's good. Okay, is this one better? Yeah, this is better. All right, which is the best?
Yeah.
And so we just did some random sampling, as well as our own employees and my business partner and I. We didn't want exactly what everyone had. So we did the barbecue first. You could go with a hickory, you could go with a sweet, you could go with a spicy, you could go with a Cajun, you could go with all kinds of things.
Okay.
We believe the Midwest flavor palette is a little on the sweeter side. And if you say spicy, they don't want spicy, not around here. You know,
Okay.
everybody says they like spice, but spicy means a lot of things, different things.
Sure.
So we went with a very soft, a very gentle, sweet and spicy barbecue, which has been a good hit for us.
Yeah.
The sour cream and onion was because everyone complimented our chips with sour cream and onion dip.
Okay.
That's been a staple for a long, long time
Yeah.
in Southeast Iowa. People like our chip with a sour cream and onion dip. So why not put the dip right on the chip?
The dip on the chip.
And that has been a really big hit with our customers.
Yeah.
So there, our oil really does match up well with that flavor. And we're very pleased with the two we have. Of course, you make two, and then somebody says, well, now you need a third, now you need a fourth. So nothing's in the works right now.
Well, I'm sure you have kids that are around still that are willing to be taste testers.
Yeah, I'd have to move up to the college ranks now to go to another team or another sport here. So
Well, and I have to congratulate you and the company, Craig, because you were recently honored last year as Manufacturer of the Year by the Greater Burlington Partnership. And so congratulations on that for that honor and accomplishment.
that was a very humbling and greatly appreciated award. For anybody who knows the backstory of what we've been through the last 4 or 5 years. The changes that the government required for the FDA, eliminating trans fats is really what that came down to, required us to do some extensive reconfiguration. There was no perfect alternative, and so finding the right oil that would mimic our original product was really a challenge. Mm-hmm. And we went through some tough times, there's no doubt. Our customers were very disappointed, and especially those that travel in and out of our area that don't understand what's happened. Yeah. They know what they're used to, what they grew up with, what the flavor is, what they can expect. And then they got a bag of chips that tasted different, and they let us know about it.
Yeah.
Through Facebook, through email, and we had to do a lot of explaining. Our customers were very loyal. They stayed with us until we found the right blend.
Yeah.
So,
well, I have to say that you obviously were very humble at receiving that award, and it was very touching to witness that. But you also shared that there's been some wonderful byproducts of that your name has gotten out in other like areas and publications, right? As a result of getting some notoriety, I guess, for that.
Yeah, the local award was picked up by the newspaper and then got out on AP, and then it became picked up by the Des Moines Register. So yeah, the story of the Manufacturer of the Year award became very public, and that surprised us. So the local acknowledgement turned into lots of comments and follow-ups and business opportunities because somebody saw the article somewhere or heard about it.
Yeah.
I think even in the Des Moines Register, the way they wrote the article, it sounded like we were the Iowa Manufacturer of the Year. We didn't deny it.
You didn't correct me, did you?
No, we didn't have a press release or anything, but it got excellent publication from our fans throughout the state of Iowa. Is really where it was primarily, and so yeah, that was a lot of fun. So a local spark turned into a nice little brush fire for us throughout the state. So we appreciate that.
Now, are you content in remaining a regional company in terms of where your product goes out?
We are always trying to expand.
Okay.
As we have capacity now with the changes we made in 2018, updating our equipment, we could certainly expand. The model that we follow is similar to the business model I studied in college, where everybody in the world wanted Coors beer. Okay, I'll just use that as a marketing example. If anybody was going to Colorado, they were going to bring back some Coors beer, because you couldn't get it here, and you wanted to try it, and it had a novelty to it. And so at this point in time, we still have a novelty aspect to us because there are people going in and out of our trade territory and taking product to where they cannot get it. Mm-hmm. Of course, we would like to be able to get it to those people, but we are in a unique time right now with freight costs, transportation cost. There is a limited return on your investment the farther away you go.
Okay.
First of all, people don't know your product. They're not familiar with it. They didn't grow up with it. And so to try to convince a store owner in Minnesota or southern Missouri or let's say Oklahoma or Texas, they've never heard of you. And so why would they put a product on their shelf when competition for that space is very difficult?
Yeah.
Then you have to get it there. You have to be able to service it. You have to have it at a competitive price. And so the return on that investment is very difficult the farther away you go.
Right. Predominantly, you're in Iowa, but you do branch out into some neighboring states, though. Is that correct?
We believe we're in 7 states right now.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but again, that's through partnerships and distributorships. Mm-hmm. My own trucks are not driving to Omaha to deliver. So we would be working with distributors, people that are in business, calling on grocery or convenience stores, picking up product lines that they know they can sell. And we're doing that primarily with our Iowa relationships.
Yeah.
So
I was going to ask that question. I think you just answered it. Like, how do you get into another market, into another area?
We grow through word of mouth primarily. Okay. And so if a customer, I'll use the western half of the state of Iowa as an example. People hear about us, but they can't find us, and so they make an inquiry. Mm-hmm. And right now we have a partnership with a specialty food division of Hy-Vee. So any Hy-Vee can carry our product. Not every Hy-Vee does.
Yeah.
But it gives us a chance to answer that question if there's a Hy-Vee in Kansas City, in Minneapolis, in Omaha, in Lincoln, in Sycamore, Illinois. They can get our product. So a customer can ask a store, hey, there's this product I'd like to have you bring in, and they will do a very good job of getting it to them, and they can do it within a day or two.
Yeah.
And so that's how we grow, first from getting in the store by request. Then if enough people request it, the store will continue to carry it on a routine basis. And that's how we're growing right now. And we have several specialty food suppliers that we're working with.
Well, people have such wonderful memories of Sterzing's. I mean, I know that when I visited with you some time ago, there was an individual who came to the office, and I think she might have been from Colorado, and just extolled the virtues about, oh, how I miss it where I live. I wish it was there. And you were so kind. You sent her off with a nice little gift pack of chips to take back with her. I would imagine that's not the only time that happens, that you get visitors.
We do. If people are going to come all the way from Colorado and grace our door with their presence and ask, we're going to spend time. And if we're in production, we're going to get them a handful of warm potato chips.
Yeah.
And we're going to hear their story, because they probably grew up in Houghton, Iowa, or Donaldson, or Quokka, Illinois.
Yeah.
And they grew up with the idea of a lunch, a sandwich or a picnic. One of my favorite terms is that taste has a memory. Mm. And when you can put a fondness to a memory and it's attached to food or a flavor, there's something unique about that and strong.
Yeah.
And so when they come home or they haven't had our product for a long time and they get a chance to open a bag of chips and they have a cold beverage and maybe sitting in grandma's house, it floods a lot of memories back to when they were children growing up.
Yeah.
And we love hearing those stories all the time. And those are fun for us. Those are just a lot of fun.
What was it about the company that made you want to stay? I mean, you said you've been with the company 42 years.
I started off, it was after my freshman year of college. I was just a kid looking for a summer job, and my family knew the owners, and so I just jumped on a truck with these old guys. They were in their 60s or 50s. They were old to me.
Yeah.
And this is how they made their living, selling product in the area. So I would jump on the truck with them, learn their route, which again was only potato chips at that time. We didn't have all the other alternatives. And I learned their areas, where they drove, what time they had to be there, and then they would take their vacation in the summertime for 3 weeks. Then I'd jump on another truck with another guy and learn his routine.
Yeah.
And these guys were leaving at 4 o'clock in the morning, and there were lots of grocery stores back in that day, and I just really fell in love with the business side of taking care of people, serving, being on schedule. All I knew was the sales, and I did that for 4 years while I was in college.
Okay.
After I graduated, I had a business degree. I was looking to go out and venture out, and there were some pretty serious circumstances, a tragedy in my family's life that made me think, where do I really need to be? And the company, Sterzing's, was already running out of third-generation family. They knew that there was just going to be a gap down the road. And so it worked out fine for me to come in and learn the production side, not just sales, but I had to learn the business and then be near my family. So it was not the original career choice, but life has a way of, making you look at things a little differently.
Oh, yeah.
And so a summertime job turned into a career, then met my wife, who's from Burlington. Next thing you know, you're raising a family and you're playing Little League in the same town you grew up in and coaching and just you're invested. Your roots are planted. And it was a good fit for me. It was nice to come home. I always liked Burlington.
Yeah.
And so I ran the business for that family for quite a few years, 25 years or so, in the production side. And then when the opportunity came, they presented it to my sales manager and I to buy, and we didn't want to work for someone else. We had to make a choice.
Okay.
And we put the deal together and closed a business deal in 6 weeks, which is unheard of too.
Yeah.
So we worked with a local bank, and we shook hands, and off we went. So.
Yeah. And how long ago was that?
That will be 11 years at the end of June.
Okay.
Yep. So 2011.
Okay. How easy or hard is it to resist competing with other brands? You know, because obviously there's, you know, like you said, people have different tastes and, you know, they experiment in different flavors or different shapes, you name it. You've stayed pretty consistent, I would imagine. So is that just a company philosophy that we're just going to stick with what we're doing and move forward?
That's a really good question. So for us, our primary business is making potato chips.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And we did, you know, as a company, they, again, did the original chip for 80-some years.
Yeah.
So we think we've made a lot of changes over in the last 5 or 6. But we also branched off into popcorn.
Okay.
So we have a cheese popcorn that's in the grocery stores. That was a good little enterprise. That was actually the first thing that Gary Schmeiser and I, my business partner, and I did, is got into the popcorn business even before we did the flavored chips.
Did you have the kids test that too?
No, that was an easy one. Cheese popcorn's really good. We didn't have to convince anybody of that one. So we had to carve out a niche area in our factory to do that. But again, we still had the old chip manufacturing equipment that could not do the seasoning. So the seasoning had to come later. But yeah, we pride ourselves on making a very good product, but in the area that what we know, our expertise. And at the same time, even when things were a bit challenging for us with the FDA, we did buy into an alternative business. So people don't realize it, but we are the distributor for the Mission brand tortillas, the flatbread tortillas in this area.
Oh, okay.
So as much as we are a manufacturer for the chips, we are a distributor for another national brand, but we chose not to be in the potato chip or snack arena.
Yeah.
So this got us into another aisle in the grocery store. We were pretty limited on what we could do. Come to a Hy-Vee or a Fairway grocery manager and show them our promotions because we have our chip. It's all we have is our chip.
Yeah.
So here we come again with our chip promotion. It's a good chip. You know, you really want to have this in your ad for the holiday.
Yeah.
So now we have an opportunity to work with these stores with a national recognized name. We're already in the stores. So rather than branch out and try to go 200 miles away with our chips, we can stay within 100 miles but distribute another product. That's the model we chose. And the idea was you're already in the store. You already know what you're going to sell with your chips. Why don't you sell something else while you're here? And it's a whole different area, whole different business model, and it gave our sales team an opportunity to do something fresh and new without cannibalizing our own. You know, if we tried to rep a national brand of chip, we would really be competing with ourselves for our own chip. So that didn't make sense.
Yeah.
So that's been a good business model for us, and we're always looking for other items to sell and carry that would be unique to our area. It would have to be a good fit, though.
Yeah.
So,
well, I should probably leave you with this, and I don't know if I told you this before, but living across the river in Illinois, I brought some of the product to my neighbor, and I presented it to her, and she said, "Oh, Sterzing's potato chips, I love them." And I said, "You know about them?" She goes, they're my favorite potato chip. I've had them for years. So congratulations. I mean, the reputation is out there.
we pride ourselves on the quality, and our fans, I mean, our customers have been so loyal. I am still continually surprised to this day how many people enjoy our product. And they tell us about it. And they'll take pictures. I just got a picture today on an email. A former Iowan lives in Guam.
Okay. Okay.
And they had chips shipped to Guam because they were going to teach the people in this city they live in what a picnic is.
Oh, wow.
And so she sent me pictures of, that costs a lot of money to ship to Guam. I'm sorry. That's flattery business for us.
Yeah.
And but we get that all the time. We get that story with servicemen and women. People ship product to them in the service across the country, and we love seeing those pictures of people holding up a bag of chips in areas that we're not in. So it's the fans, the customers are the key to the whole thing.
Well, thank you. Well, Craig, congratulations again on such a successful business here in Southeast Iowa, for the headship that you and Gary are providing for the company, and I'm sure there's just many years of success continuing and down the road for you. So we appreciate you being such a staple here in the area.
Thank you. We appreciate it, and we'll do the best we can.
Well, thank you so much for listening to All Things Greater Burlington, and I would encourage everyone to please like and subscribe so you can become fans of the podcast. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
You have been listening to All Things Greater Burlington with Stephen Brody. Be sure to hit the subscribe button to catch all new episodes. To learn more about all things Greater Burlington, visit greaterburlington.com/ATGB.